Hello friends, welcome to Apex Chess Academy. I am feeding instructor Hemal Thanki, and today we are going to see one of my encounter against Adiban. Yes, we know who is Adiban, right? He is basically a very energetic player who is very dynamic in all the aspects. We know his aggression, the aggressive style, basically makes him even a better player, and his bold approach towards the game, even against a higher player, is basically really beautiful. And I have learned this approach from his games only. So even in my game, I used to play very aggressively. And okay, this is my first game. Oh, sorry. Actually, this is my second game, which I'm going to show you first. Okay, let's start with the game. Okay, I started with one e4, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, and here I'm used to play basically two lines, either knight g5 or d3. So here I started with d3. Basically, knight g5 allows some sort of attack, and I don't want to allow Adiban to start with attack, so I just played d3 here. Now bishop c5, c3, and my opponent played castle. So basically, his intention when someone is playing fifth castle, his intention might be direct d5 rather than d6. So here I played bishop b3. Okay, now he played d6. Okay, so now I played h3. Here I don't like the move bishop g5, because after bishop g5, 6 bishop h4, g5 sometimes come, and that bishop on g3 basically remains dull for the rest of the game. So I don't like the move bishop g5 here, although it is definitely playable. Because black has already played castle and white has not committed castle, and that's why bishop g5 is possible. Okay, so here let's h3. Now 97, and this is relatively basically less explored idea. Normally black plays bishop b6 and then 97, but here he played direct 97, putting his bishop on c5 only, so he's not wasting time. So okay, let's say knight e7, knight bd2, knight g6. And now if I am playing knight f1, knight g3, it looks a little bit slow to me, and I just want to take advantage of exposed bishop c5 basically. So I played here d4, which is, I mean, which was a novelty basically when I have played this game against him before a year. So here I played d4, and I feel this is a strong novelty. And after ed4, just cd4, bishop b6, and now I played castle. Now here white has basically a beautiful center, and if black is not take on e4 here, sorry, black, if black is not playing d5 here and not break my center, then gradually I can improve my position further. I'll just grab the bishop pair with knight c4, and then I'll try to open the position as well. So that looks good. So here my opponent played d5, and that's a very good idea. And if I play e5 here, then my opponent may go for even knight h5, and probably this knight to f4. So okay, I'm just um, I don't want to play e5 here. So okay, I just played ed5. Why I played ed5? Because actually I'm going to have the bishop pair after knight c4. So I would just like to open the center. So I just played ed5, knight d5, and now I played knight c4. According to my idea, I'm just playing knight c4, just grabbing the bishop pair. And now my opponent played h6. Okay, and I took on b6, ab6, and now you see, white has bishop pair. Um, but the knight on d5 is very strong in center, and remember one stuff: whenever we have bishop pair, we should not allow outpost to our opponent. If opponent's knight is in center, basically which nullifies the bishop pair. This will learn in our future topic bishop pair, where I'll told you some golden rules. So here after say ab6. Here I played knight e5 because I just want to open the center, so I played knight e5. If my opponent takes on e5, I'm just very happy because after d e5 the center is open, and my bishops are basically monster. After that I can simply play queen h5, maybe some kind of trick on h6. Maybe even I can simply play even f4 f5, because I have pawn majority on king side. Whenever you have pawn majority on king side, you should just push your pawns on the king side, keep the queen on the board, which is again the golden rule of middle game. So here I just played knight e5, and here my opponent played bishop knight g e7, not bishop e6. Otherwise, I'll just take on g6. So okay, knight g e7, and now I played queen f3. So basically, I'm just creating a square for my queen on f3 due to knight e5. So I just played queen f3, and now my opponent played bishop e6. So you see how strong he is. He just made a very strong bind on d5, and I could not basically open my bishops anyhow. And you see my bishop on c1, basically it has no good squares on the whole board. So okay, I can play simple bishop d2 or something like this. Okay, it is just actually connecting my rooks basically, because that bishop is not at all in the use. So okay, bishop d2, which is possible and probably good too. But okay, again, basically I learned from Adiban that you should play aggressive, especially against the higher player. So I just decided to play rd1. Um, Actually, I have checked lots of games of Adiban. Basically, his style of playing against the French, the Taras variation was really, really amazing. I mean, the variation way basically he's using this knight d2 and f4 idea, okay, and then knight tf3. So once who is basically who have not checked his game against French, I would just highly recommend to go through that. Even his basically approach towards the Benoni in the bishop b5 check Taimano variation, that too basically impressed me a lot. So okay, here I choose the aggressive variation. Okay, now I why I played rd1. Basically, my intention is not to allow knight b4. Basically, yeah, see, my pawn on d4 is on a dark square, and basically black wants an outpost on d5. If black is able to able to exchange the light square bishop after knight b4, then my attack basically is not that strong. So why I played rd1? Because if my opponent goes for knight b4, then here even I can play d5. Maybe it's not the best according to the computer, but practical point of view, I'm damn sure that it is a very strong idea. And after d5, let's say if someone takes knight b d5, here I can just bring my bishop back to c2, and now you see my both bishops are very strong. So what does it make difference? Basically here there is no pawn on d4, so my rook on d1 is active, and it keeps the d5 knight a pin. And let's say now if someone plays basically c6, then here you can go for either queen h5 or maybe first rook e1, and even uh, maybe you can just play like knight b4, you can play one bishop here, and if bishop a2, my idea was just rook a2, and after knight into a2, just bishop into h6. So after bishop h6, g6, queen g4 check, king here, and queen f4, and again just I'm threatening queen into h6. So my opponent has to play king g7, and then queen g4 is perpetual. So on move number 17, basically knight b4, my idea was d5. But okay, my opponent played a very good move. He played queen c8 on move number 17 when I played rd1. And here again I decided to go with aggressive moves, just continue my aggression with the knight g4, and the idea is knight into h6. Maybe still it's possible just to go for bishop d2, cool variation, comfortable, but I like to play this aggressive move. And of course if my opponent takes on g4, I'm happy, I'll just take with the h pawn, and this double pawns basically are very strong. I'm having bishop pair against two knights in case of bishop g4. So of course bishop g4 is not at all an option. So here my opponent played again a beautiful move. He just played rd8. So basically is dealing with this knight at 6 idea, because if you allow me knight at 6 straight away, if you play some bad move, then I can just simply play knight at 6 pawn in 2, and then my threat is bishop at 6. And if you move this rook, then maybe there are some threats like even queen g3 or something like this. So okay, here my opponent played rd1, and so there is no tempo after knight at 6, g6, and bishop at 6. Okay, still I played knight at 6, g6, bishop into h6. And okay, in case of knight f5, I can play bishop g5. And of course, this sacrifice is not for a short term, some meeting ideas or like this. Okay, no. Basically, I got two pawns against knight, and I couldn't find any good square for my c1 bishop. But after this knight at 6 idea, actually I have a very strong squares around the king for my bishop, and he do not have any dark square bishop. So basically it gives a very good compensation, and this is what I like to play this kind of game against, especially against a heavyweight player. Some aggressive stuff. This is normally I recommend to my students as well. Just play aggressive game against a higher player, and just play a positional stuff against the lower rate player. Okay, so here after bishop at 6, my opponent played rook d6. So he's dealing with the 6th rank. Maybe he can interpose his rook uh, somewhere, and his idea might be one just attacking my h6 bishop in future. Okay, I played queen g3 check, and here my opponent played knight g6. And okay, here my last piece on a1 basically is not at all in a play. So here we can simply play rook a c1, and finally I have improved my rook as well, and we are following simple scanning technique after rook a c1. And let's say now knight d e7 was played uh, by my opponent. So still he's eager to exchange this light square bishop. And of course, if I eliminate the light square bishop, which basically solves the problem in black's camp, so here I played d5. This is again a very strong move, and my opponent cannot take by any of the piece. For example, if he plays knight into d5, then I can play queen into d6. And after c into d6, I can simply take rook c8, bishop into d5, and basically I wins pawn, and still my pawn structure is better, so I have considerable advantage. So my opponent could not take this d5 pawn, and after d5, let's say if my opponent takes on d5 with bishop, but still I have queen into d6, so you can't take on d6. If he moves his bishop to say d7, then still I have bishop f4. The g6 knight is still pinned, and if you play rook f6, then I have rook into c7, and after queen e8 I can play one d6. And now you see my both bishops are still monster. My d6 pawn is just uh, I mean like to finish this game. So after d6, knight c6, bishop g5, rook f5, and now I can play one f5 with a crushing position. So here bishop d7 on move number 23 is also not possible. So the only good move was basically knight f5, and that's what my opponent played. So knight f5, and now I played queen c3. So basically you can't take on h6, otherwise I'll just take on e6. So knight f6, which is just a bad idea. Here I can simply take on e6, and it will expose black's king even further. And even c7 pawn is also weak. So basically if I am able to get the third pawn on c7, then of course my position is even better probably. So after queen c3, my opponent played bishop d7, and now I have simply defends my bishop with bishop g5. And now you see my pawn on d4 basically was not so strong, but with the pawn on d5 I'm even stronger, because which not allows any kind of outpost on d5. So here my opponent decided to play c5, and I took on c6, and my opponent basically took back with rook. Okay, it keeps his pawn structure bad on queen side, but his point is basically is improving his rook and try to eliminate my rook from the board, so which basically reduce some pressure on his king. So okay, I played queen d3. Okay, another interesting idea was queen f6. During the game I was thinking about this as well, and after rook into queen, rook takes rook, and bishop into f6. This is also basically very interesting, but okay, I decided to go for queen d3 on move number 27. So queen d3, now bishop e6, and now I took rook into c6, queen into c6, now bishop into e6, queen into e6, and now simple a3. And now you see still the position basically looks equal despite of piece down, uh, because I have already two pawns against piece, and black's king is still basically very exposed, and black again do not have bishop, Dasco bishop especially, so his king is very weak, and even his pawn structure is very weak. So I mean it's not possible to leave his king and try to attack on my king. My king is again very safe as compared to his. So I have some attacking chances if I'm able to get the third pawn, and if I'm able to exchange the queens, then even white will try in endgame. So this kind of fundamental, let's say, bunch of pawns against pieces, which is basically our future topic that I'll cover in my YouTube channel. So okay, here basically after a3 my opponent played rook e8, and here I decided to go for exchanging the queen with the move queen d7, and despite of piece down, basically I went for queen d7, because after say queen d7 rook d7, basically I'm going to take on b7. Even this rook basically on d7 is very active. If you are decided to defend it with rook b8, then it is very passive. So here my opponent played knight f8, and I took on b7. So finally I got the third pawn against a piece, and now it's really fun to play. So okay, after queen b3 I played rook d2, rook e1 check, king h2, and here basically I was in time trouble. I was playing in seconds. Adiban has probably 15 or 20 minutes if I'm not wrong, but in game actually I was thinking about queen d5 here, whatever black plays next move. So after queen d5 basically I just try to exchange my queen against, because the f5 knight is hanging and queen is on b3. So after queen d5 basically I am able to exchange queen, but here my opponent made a mistake. Even if he plays queen e6, I have queen d5 and I have tremendous compensation, but my opponent played queen b5, and actually I was thinking about queen d5, so I suddenly played queen d5 here, and that was a mistake, my first mistake on last move. So here queen d5 was a bad idea, and here my opponent offered me a draw after rook e5. So it's my privilege to have a draw against Adiban, so I accepted. But okay, basically, of course, it's a double-ish position, so I'm not saying that after queen b5 white has advantage any. But it's a double-ish position, and I was playing in seconds, and Adiban has 15-20 minutes, so there is, of course, no need to take any risk, and it was basically a team event, and even my basically team lost with 3-0, so even if I won, then still it does not matter. So okay, I decided to take a draw here after queen b5, but okay, here instead of queen d5, actually the better move was rook d5, and just immediate after playing the move I realized that I made a mistake. But okay, after rook d5, let's say if the only move is knight d6, and now I'll take on b5, knight b7, and rook into b6. And now, of course, I won't take draw because after rook b6, I have four pawns against a piece. So this is excellent way to continue. So guys, I think you have enjoyed this game, and don't forget to subscribe my channel and do like the videos as well. Thank you friends.